This is my 10th Tokyo Motor Show. Journey which began in 1997, and I haven't missed a single of these Japanese edition of what earlier used to be one of the premium motor shows of the world. Till the time Lehman Brothers, Fukushima, etc. really dumbed it down. But again, over the last 2 editions, the Tokyo Motor Show is finding its proper place in the hierarchy and positioning of global auto shows in the world. We begin with Toyota because a very emotive Akio Toyoda has understood what it means to make automobiles fun to drive, fun to use, pleasurable. A lot of car makers had forgotten this aspect, and when he said that he was speaking not just on behalf of his company but for whole of Japan and its car makers, that the time has come to make automobiles go wow. Let's roll with Toyota first. 3 new concepts right behind me on the stage. The new Prius takes center spot. Then you also have the new GT86, and then of course the new hybrid fuel cell propellant which can be used across in even the latest crossovers, which is concept manifestation there. But if you really want to talk about what goes wow for an automotive enthusiast, you've got to go and look at the Kikai. Yes, it is really top-notch in the way petrol head would like to put the throttle down and really roar off in the distance. In 1958, the Honda success story began with the Super Cub. Soichiro Honda's masterpiece. And if you need to know where Honda has progressed, you got to what you call look at its stand at the Tokyo Motor Show, where it has got its new NSX. It's got its Clarity fuel cell car, which are technology demonstrated at the highest level. But they have not forgotten where they came from. The roots still lie in the Super Cub, and right behind me is the new EV Cub. An evolution of the species which began from 1958 and continues to this day. Unfortunately, the car which will come to India in 2016, the BRV crossover, is not there on the stand right now. But let that not bother you, because whatever we see here at Tokyo, a lot of that essence, that charisma will fructify and go on to the company's India products in early 2016. Suzuki is one of Japan's biggest small car makers. The Kai Jidosha class cars are its forte. Of course, whatever concepts we have seen here have got no relevance for India, but they do hint at the peculiarities which all the Japanese car companies put out for the Tokyo Motor Show. The car behind me, the Mighty Deck, is probably my favorite because it is the fun small vehicle to have if ever it gets to be available in India. The Artriser over there is probably an extension of what are the low riders at Hamamatsu. And yes, the Ignis Trail concept is also very, very tasty. They have got many of their production models which are predominantly Japanese based. Not much for India, mind you, but you can definitely have a glimpse at the new Baleno, which will already be on Indian roads by the time we are airing this show, and also the only vehicle in the entire auto show here in Tokyo with an Indian, absolutely down to honest possession is the Suzuki Gixxer two-wheeler. Apart from that, not much India-centric, but yes, a glimpse into the future from Suzuki as well. Nissan has three concepts at Tokyo. Right behind me, the orange car is the Grips concept, and behind it, the silver car is the IDV autonomous car. Both embrace electromobility in different phases. There is both hybrid propulsion as well as all-electric setup. The Grips concept is Nissan's purvey of what would be the crossover of the near future. And in fact, you could see so many Butch style elements which pervade so much thought all across its range. And then yes, you have already seen funky cars from Nissan like the Murano, and the established norm is that whatever you see in a motor show will pervade and come across into production in say another 3-4 years time. Look at the Grips and think about the Nissan for 2018-2019. Gordon Murray's iStream manufacturing process is something which Yamaha has now taken to another level. Of course, it's still in early prototype productionizing form, but it is something where it tries to stack up aggregates in a very easy manner for transportation, for manufacture. The chassis which you see behind me is a mix of tubular carbon frame, and it is going to house a very sleek, sexy sports car conversion, and on that you can build many other variants as well. Yamaha wants to take this further. It is still developing. It has got the rights for the iStream technology, and we had seen this, the second iteration, in the last 2 years. Hopefully next time we are at Tokyo in 2 years time, we will finally have the production ready version of Yamaha's iStream based sports car. Kawasaki is best known for its sporty, large 4-cylinder motorcycles, and the bike right behind me is a gem. It is this year's World Superbike Championship winning bike of Johnny Rea. What determines Kawasaki is all encapsulated in this inline 4-cylinder 1000cc machine, and that is exactly what you also get in India on the road, the new ZX-10R. But then Kawasaki has been making big force right since the advent of the first 900 Super 4 many eons ago in 1969-70. And from that time on, the Ninja brand has gone on not just to dominate the senses and other rivals, but it has also metamorphosed into bikes lower down the scale from 900cc downwards. India has the Ninja 250, the 300, the 650, and a whole host of other Ninjas, the 750, the 900, the 1000 and whatnot. Kawasaki this year is really putting its focus on its new supercharged inline 4-cylinder engine, which we saw last year in prototype form. Then it came in the H2R and the H2. This year they are trying to take that thought process further, and I'm sure downsizing is the name of the game. You'll see supercharged Kawasaki small engines also in the 500cc, 650cc, 750cc classes going forward. This is Yamaha's 60th year of making two-wheelers, and of course you must have recognized that I'm biased towards Valentino Rossi, and I'm there on his MotoGP machine. But at Tokyo, Yamaha has hinted at where it will take two-wheelers forward in the modern era. The PE S2 and the PE D2 electric bikes are a harbinger of where its electromobility concepts are going. The S2 is particularly important because it has the potential to be one of the most charismatic motorcycles for utilitarian purposes going, with its two-wheel drive electric concept. Two motors, one in the front wheel, one in the rear, nothing linked across excepting with batteries for the juice. That is truly something which is Yamaha in its entirety. Of course, Yamaha has not forgotten where its roots lie. So it has got its R1 road-going superbike, direct descendant from the YZF M1. It has got the R3 as well, which has just been released in India. And by and large, its range of scooters and whatnot is manifest as far as two-wheelers are concerned. But it also has a surprise element in the form of the iStream from Gordon Murray is concerned. We saw it in prototype form at the last Tokyo Motor Show. This year we are going to see a further extension of this concept.